In the world of coin collecting, some treasures arrive unexpectedly, quiet, unassuming, and easy to overlook unless you know exactly what you're searching for. And today's story is about one such treasure, the 2012 United States 1-cent coin. At first glance, it seems like the most ordinary piece of pocket change you could imagine. It's a penny. A cent, something millions of people spend without a second thought every single day. But in the fascinating universe of numismatics, even the most modest coin can tell an incredible story, and sometimes, it can even be worth a small fortune compared to its face value. This humble little coin from 2012 is one many Americans have held, lost, dropped, or tossed into a jar. But for collectors who know what to look for, the 2012 penny isn't just another copper-colored disc. It's a doorway into history, design, craftsmanship, and unexpected value. Imagine, for a moment, the year 2012. The United States was recovering from the financial crisis, smartphones were exploding in popularity, and the Lincoln cent, America's longest-running coin design, was continuing a transition that began only a few years earlier. The 2012 penny is part of that era, but it also represents something more, a modern collectible that stands at the intersection of tradition and innovation, carrying more value today than anyone could have predicted at the time. For collectors, a 2012 penny isn't rare by mintage alone. In fact, the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced hundreds of millions of them, flooding the nation with shiny new copper-plated zinc cents. If you grab a handful of change, there's a good chance at least one penny in there is from 2012. That's what makes their story so compelling. Even in a sea of millions, a small number stand out, struck with unusual quality, possessing minting errors, or preserved so perfectly that collectors consider them little masterpieces of modern coin production. To appreciate why some 2012 pennies have become valuable, you first need to understand how these coins are made. Modern cents are struck on planchets, made mostly of zinc, coated with a thin layer of copper. This is very different from the pennies minted before 1982, which were almost entirely copper. This shift in metal composition wasn't arbitrary. It was driven by the rising cost of copper, which at times made a penny worth more as scrap metal than as currency. The 2012 penny, therefore, carries with it the legacy of metal market changes and mid-policy decisions that shaped the modern cent. Another aspect that makes the 2012 penny interesting is the subtle differences between coins struck in different U.S. mint facilities. The Philadelphia Mint, in 2012, once again produced cents without a mint mark, while the Denver Mint used its familiar DE mint mark. Collectors often look for distinctions in strike quality, color, surface luster, and die condition to determine which mint's coins are more desirable for that year. Although both facilities produced high quantities, the Denver issues for some years tend to show sharper strikes, while Philadelphia strikes can vary more dramatically in quality. For collectors seeking high-grade pieces, even these small variations can be important. And of course, coins from the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S, were produced in specially packaged proof sets. These proof coins, made with extra care, polished dies, and a slower striking process, display deep, mirror-like surfaces and frosted details. A 2012 S-proof penny isn't likely to be found in pocket change, but it's a collector favorite and remains part of the broader story of the 2012 cent family. For collectors, this symbolism adds another layer of appeal. A coin doesn't have to be old to be interesting. It simply needs a story, a reason for people to look closer, and an element of surprise. The 2012 penny delivers all of these. Because while millions of people see a penny as something with little worth, collectors know better. They know that value isn't always obvious, and sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding in plain sight. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. The surprise that makes this story even more exciting. After examining its condition, rarity, and appeal to collectors, the standout 2012 USA 1-cent coin we've been discussing carries a market value far beyond what its original owners ever expected. A coin that cost 1 cent to make, 1 cent to spend, and 1 cent to ignore, is today valued at an impressive $122. Yes, $122 for a penny. It's a reminder that treasures don't always come wrapped in gold or shining with gems. Sometimes they're hiding in your change jar, resting in your car's cup holder, or sitting unnoticed in your wallet. Sometimes the smallest piece of metal can carry the biggest surprise. The 2012 penny is proof that even in a world where money changes hands at lightning speed, it's worth slowing down and taking a second look. Because who knows? That ordinary coin you almost toss aside might be something truly special, an unexpected piece of history worth far more than anyone ever imagined, and that's the beauty of collecting. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. It transforms something small into something meaningful. It encourages curiosity, patience, and appreciation for craftsmanship and history. So the next time you find a penny, don't be too quick to let it slip away. You never know, you just might be holding the next $122 treasure. In the quiet hum of everyday life, we often overlook the smallest objects that pass through our hands, pennies jingling in pockets, slipping between couch cushions, or resting at the bottoms of drawers. But every now and then, one of those tiny copper-colored discs holds a story worth far more than a single cent. Today, we're diving into the world of one such piece, the 1998 D. Lincoln cent, a coin that seems ordinary at first glance but carries a depth of history, character, and collector intrigue that has turned it into a small treasure of its own. Among them is the 1998 Denver minted Lincoln cent, stamped with that tiny but important D under the date. It's a coin that was never expected to be rare, never considered special in its own time, and never meant to raise eyebrows. Yet here we are, more than 2 decades later, shining a spotlight on it for the very reasons it was once ignored. This means that our 1998 D penny is actually a zinc coin wearing a copper jacket, a design choice that had consequences collectors still talk about today. Zinc doesn't age gracefully. It can corrode from the inside out, causing bubbles, pits, and even holes in the coin's surface. Many pennies minted after 1982 show scars of this fragile composition, and the 1998 D cent is no exception. That's part of what makes finding a clean, sharp, undamaged example so exciting. Survival and high quality is simply not guaranteed. Now picture the moment that coin was created. Denver's mint facility, busy and booming, is one of the major engines of U.S. currency. Billions of coins pass through its presses every year. In 1998 alone, the Denver Mint struck over 5 billion 1-cent coins. The mint mark, D, below the date is a tiny badge of origin, stamped into each coin as a final identifier of its birthplace in the Rocky Mountains. Amid that sea of production, each cent begins its journey as a blank zinc disc. It is fed into a coining press, hammered between dies carrying the designs of the obverse and reverse, and stamped with thousands of pounds of pressure in a fraction of a second. The instant it is struck, the once blank disc becomes unmistakably American. Lincoln's profile on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back, a motif introduced in 1959 to celebrate his 150th birthday. This was the design still used in 1998, before the mint shifted to the new shield reverse in 2010. This particular date and mint has produced several varieties and errors that, while not extremely rare, are fun and collectible. Some enthusiasts hunt for off-center strikes, where the design is only partially stamped on the coin. Others look for die cracks or die chips, small bumps or raised lines caused by wear on the minting dies. There are even coins with slightly distorted lettering or doubled areas created by subtle quirks in the minting process. While most of these variations aren't worth huge amounts, they add personality and give collectors something to chase. That's the magic of collecting. You're not just evaluating metal, you're connecting with history, manufacturing, and human craft. You're holding a tiny artifact that passed through the hands of strangers, lived a life of its own, survived its journey, and somehow made its way to you. Picture a coin in mint state, preserved from the wear and tear of circulation. It might shine with brilliant luster, its copper coating catching the light as if still fresh from the Denver mint presses. Anyone can marvel that a coin worth 1 cent in 1998 can be worth over 100 times that today simply because it survived in beautiful condition. There's something deeply satisfying about coins like this, objects that don't rely on extreme rarity or dramatic mint errors to be desirable. They're valuable because they remind us of the delicate balance between mass production and individuality. Billions may be made, but only a small fraction emerged decades later with the quality collectors crave. That rarity of condition, not rarity of existence, is what makes the 1998 penny special. As we wrap up the journey of this unassuming yet captivating coin, take a moment to reflect on how many pennies you may have handled in your lifetime. How many jingled unnoticed in your pockets or slipped between cushions without a second thought? Any one of them could have been a 1998 cent with a story of its own. Maybe one day you'll pick up a penny from the ground or sort through some old change and realize you've found something more meaningful than you expected. That's the thrill of coin collecting, discovering the extraordinary in the ordinary. And now, after exploring its origins, design, composition, survival challenges, and collector appeal, it's time for the part you've been waiting for, the value. If you're lucky enough to come across a 1998 Lincoln cent in excellent condition, preserved with sharp detail and minimal wear, your little copper-colored coin could be worth about $121 in today's collector market. Not bad for a single cent that's traveled through more than 2 decades of American life.